If you've ever tried to grow a flower, you know that a flower needs nourishment every single day. If the flower does not get nourishment every day, then it can wither away and die. This can be compared to marriages. If a person doesn't strengthen their marriage and nourish it every single day, it can wither away and die, and there may be no way to revive that relationship after it's gone. Today, I'm going to explain to you 3 ways in which a couple can strengthen their marriage every day. The first way is through showing that people like to be shown love in different ways. The second is by spending time together. And the third is to communicate effectively. So we'll start with the first one. Not everybody likes to be shown love in the same way. Gary Chapman came up with the 5 love languages in his book, and he separates these 5 different love languages into 5 categories of different ways that people like to be shown love. The 5 different categories are physical touch, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and words of affirmation. Because people don't like to be shown love in the same exact way, it's important to find out what your love language is and what your spouse's love language is. When you do this, you can avoid showing love in ways that they might not be as receptive to. And when people show love, usually they show love in the way that they like to be shown love. And so it's important to find out your love language and also your spouse's love language so you can show love to them in a way that is more receptive to them. In order to do this, you can go on to the 5lovelanguages.com and take the quiz that tells you what your love language is and have your spouse take it as well. That way, you're able to find out what your love language is and show love in a way that is more receptive to that person. The next part is to spend more time together. By spending time together, you can be in an environment where there are little or no distractions. You can have uninterrupted time from children or electronics or anything else that may interrupt you, and you may deepen your connection with your spouse. This also gives you the time to communicate about things that may be important in your marriage at that time. It may give you time to talk about your hopes and dreams or issues and problems that may be arising in your marriage. But it gives you that uninterrupted time spent away from others to deepen your connection and to communicate effectively with each other. Which brings me to the third way we can strengthen marriages, by communicating effectively. The first part of this is to make sure that you're actively listening to your spouse. In order to do this, you shouldn't be making up something in your mind about what you want to say next, but that you actually sit and listen to them. And when you listen to them, you can acknowledge their opinions and their feelings, and you can know what they're trying to say to you. And then you can reiterate to them what you think they're trying to say. When you do this, it can give you it can help you to avoid the misinterpretation and miscommunication that happens so often in marriages. It can also help you to see that everybody has different perceptions. And so it's important to listen to your spouse and really, truly try to figure out what they're trying to say. The second part of communication is to make sure that we avoid yelling or giving the cold shoulder. This can bring in a spirit of contention and can make it so that this communication that you're trying to have just goes downward and in a downward spiral. It can also make it so that your spouse may not want to talk to you anymore because you're not giving them the opportunity to express how they feel. And then the next part of this is John Gottman came up with the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse in regards to communication. These 4 horsemen are criticism, where you overtly criticize the other person; defensiveness, where you refuse to accept responsibility; contempt, where you look down on the other person or you degrade them; and stonewalling, where you withdraw from the other person and you disconnect emotionally from them. These 4 things can be very detrimental to a marriage and can really make it so that the other person does not want to talk to you. It can make it so that you may not be able to communicate effectively in your marriage. So you need to avoid these 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. A way in which you can have effective communication is by having family councils with your family and your spouse. Having family councils can promote an environment of love and respect for each other. When you have family councils, everybody can have a non-judgmental chance of explaining how they feel or why they feel that way. Family councils start out by having an agenda, and everybody gets to see that agenda before the family council happens. And then, when the family council is happening, First thing everybody does is express appreciation for each other, and then you start with a prayer. That can invite the spirit and invite an environment of love and appreciation for each other into the home. Next, you discuss every item on the agenda, and if you need to come to a decision, usually it can be came to unanimously because the Spirit is there to open the minds of everybody and to help come up with a decision that everybody agrees with. And then you can have another prayer to thank Heavenly Father for all of the help that He has given you throughout these discussions, and then have some treat or snack just to end the family council. These family councils can help strengthen a marriage immensely and help to have communication be effective in the marriage. So there are many different ways that marriages can be strengthened, and I just named a few. And just like a flower, there are many different ways that a flower can be nourished, but it's important that the nourishment of the marriage happens every single day. Elder Russell M. Nelson said, "Marriages would be happier if nourished more carefully." Thank you.